What up, nerds? Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative. My name is Leslie Smith, and today I am here to talk about a recent fantasy series that I continued based off of recently reading and loving Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, this was a recent read of mine because my friend and author John Palladino is a patron of mine, and every month I pick a different patron to choose any book they would like for me to read and review. And while I think John picked this book a little bit to be funny, I do think there was an underlying curiosity to know what my opinion was of this book. Specifically, if this series, was worth all of the hype that it was getting. If you saw that review video, you already know I had a great time reading this book. And I'm not alone. Fourth Wing amassed a ton of fans. Did it hang on to all of those fans for its sequel, Iron Flame? No, there were a lot of people who were disappointed with the second book, and my thoughts on it is the majority of them may have been disappointed because there was almost no focus on the romance that was so much fun in Fourth Wing. The sexual tension between the two main characters was a lot of fun. That was absent in this book, but there were so many other things that the author did that I thought was just as good. There were also other aspects that she ignored or did not expand upon, which I really think if she had, it would have made this book be a 5-star read for me. So let's talk more about it. Quick side note, I will have the link to both of these books in the description box below where you can pick up a copy. I'll link both of my non-spoiler written reviews as well as the website directly to Rebecca Yarros so you can read more about her, see what all she has available for her readers, as well as what she has in the pipeline. In this installment of the Empyrean series, everyone expected Violet Sorrengail to die in the first book. She was not expected to live through her first year of becoming a dragon rider. Violet herself is still pretty shocked that she made it through to see her second year, and now is when she discovers second year is where the real training begins. I was very excited that the story was going to continue at the War College, as the setting was my absolute favorite part of the first book. I loved the constant danger, just not knowing if you were going to live to see the end of each day. Rebecca Yarros was really good at writing at that pace, displaying the fear of these characters perhaps not making it to the end of the day, their relief when they did, and just how it was each of these different characters were coping. And she did a really great job covering a big cast of characters. In the second year of War College training for the Dragon Riders, it's not so much based on the physical aspects of being a rider, it's more on the psychological. In addition to enduring this new type of training, Violet's on a razor's edge because she knows, or she suspects rather, that a lot of the leadership at Basgiath knows some things that they're keeping from the people of Navarre, and she also suspects that they might be suspicious of her. So she's got this razor's edge that she's walking. Her nerves are shot, and she really does feel like they're focusing this psychological warfare training to its extreme upon her. There's one lesson these instructors forgot they taught her in her first year, and that is dragon riders make their own rules. Once again, Rebecca Yarros does really well writing about the intelligence of Violet, how she uses her intelligence to survive, to excel, and also to help others. Now, let's jump into the characters. Another one of the things that I loved about Fourth Wing was the camaraderie between Violet's little core group and her squad. That was missing from Iron Flame. We saw a little teeny tiny bit of focus on some of the characters of that group, but there just weren't enough scenes of them interacting together. I was really disappointed not to have more of that. Rebecca Yarros compromised that by introducing a lot of really interesting new characters that changed the dynamic a little bit and made it fun. I was really happy to find that the dragons interacted. They were included more in the story. I was really pleased about that, along with having more more focus on the dragons, that also meant we learned more about the magic between dragons and riders. So much of it is kept secret. So much of how that bond works is not shared with people who are not riders. And some of it, they're not even allowed to share between riders. So it's really interesting to learn some of the secrets behind the scenes because we're privy to it through Violet's perspective. As far as main characters, Violet and Xaden, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with what happened with Xaden's character in this book. I enjoyed that he was trying to open up and be more emotionally available to Violet, but on the opposite side of that, I really liked his character in book 1. I found him intriguing, mysterious, dark. I liked the mystery of his character, and I think he just opened up too easily. I feel like he fell too fast and just all of a sudden that was just kind of dumped on the plate like, oh, by the way, I've loved you since I kissed you that one time. I think I would have preferred if the tension between the two had been drug out a little bit further. It was too fast on his part, in my opinion. One aspect I feel that Rebecca Yarros ignored or just chose not to work on in Iron Flame was world building. In fact, she didn't do a whole lot in book 1 either because the main portion of that story took place in the War College. But because the setting was so interesting, so full of danger on every page, I didn't really pay attention that I wasn't getting any world building. That did not continue in this one, and I was a little disappointed because the setting changed, but it wasn't as interesting as being at the War College. So when we moved around a little bit, I was kind of excited, and I thought, well, this is boring. Let's go back to the War College. One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about this book was missing the sexual tension that was so fun in Fourth Wing. So let's talk about my spice rating for Iron Flame. I'm going to give this one a 2. There were some more intimate scenes in this book. They weren't really all that descriptive, and they didn't get into like any dirty talk that would have really put it into a spice level 3. Even though there were some aspects of this book that didn't get developed at all or were forgotten about, others were done really well. I found interesting, more interesting than the first book, in fact. So I wouldn't say that Iron Flame suffered second book syndrome. What I do hope is that going forward with book 3, Rebecca Yarros is going to do a little bit better job of spreading the love between all of the elements that make up a book and grow the story a little more. Now, look, she did her readers so dirty at the end of this book. Like, I was thrown for a loop. I have no idea what she's going to do to move this story forward, how this is going to work. Although I will say, if she writes the relationship between Violet and Xaden in book 3 like she did in book 2, I am not going to be able to handle that for a whole other book. So I hope we got these particular kinks worked out, because if we do this yo-yoing through another book, I'm probably going to lose interest in the series. But as it stands, I can take it for one book. I think it shows the natural course of a relationship when it moves too fast, when it starts with the physical and doesn't start with the emotional. So I enjoyed it, but the author could potentially screw the pooch on the third one. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I believe the third book is going to be out January of 2025. You know your girl has already got that pre-ordered. I'll be reading it and reviewing it. So if you're like me when you read Iron Flame and you're like, am I going to want to continue the series? Hang tight. I will read it, let you know what I think, and you can make your decision. Hope you enjoyed hearing about my thoughts today. If you did, please let me know by hitting that like button down below the video there. Hit the subscribe button while you're there if you haven't already, so you don't miss future videos like this one. And with that, I'm going to leave you to it. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.